keep in mind is that we're having, progress, not perfection, right? And so continual progress is something to always go back into gratitude for. I was thinking about our process so far, thinking about managing our state, thinking about, integrity, just thinking about all the things that we've talked about. And what was really highlighted to me is this thing about change and navigating change. We're all about staying in our identity despite our circumstances, to actually be solid no matter what's going on around us, that we don't have to be shaken by every wind of the spirit and whatever's going on. It's being emotionally solid, resilient, and some things really just need to be let go of out of our lives. One of the things we need to let go of, people pleasing, masks, living with masks on, those orphan and striving mindsets. Also, that self-judgment and even excuses. Hey, I wasn't standing in my integrity today. I was late. I didn't do X, Y, and Z. Here's the reason. Here's the excuse. And you know what more? Even tolerating less than what's available for you. That's some of the great things that we get to do is stand on top of the mountains, get a grip on that thing, be able to shift our focus and walk towards those things that the Lord has for us versus focusing on the things that are missing or not going right, right? So today we're going to talk about navigating change in a way that makes us emotionally resilient and unshakable. Here's the thing. One thing that's for sure, there'll be change. That's a constant in life. We will have change no matter what we do. Change is an inevitable part of life and business. So our goal today is develop those mindsets that help us to embrace change positively. I imagine this as even in gym class when I was a kid, I was on the basketball court and I sucked at it, by the way. Basketball is terrible. But one thing I remembered, they taught us how to pivot. They would have to run a little bit, stop short, turn, run the other way, stop short, turn, run the other way, stop short. Just like in basketball, that life throws us balls and we need to catch them. We need to run, stop, be able to pivot. We're not ever going to be in that place where, I've got it all together. Things are all set. I'm good to go, right? We're always in a place of progress and growth. And the thing is, if you weren't in a place of progress and growth and you didn't need any change, frankly, you're going to be bored out of your ever-loving mind, because one of the absolute human needs that we have is uncertainty, adventure, variety. So how do we meet that change? That need is learning to embrace change. So let's understand, change is natural. You can count on the fact that change will always be there. So if you want some constant in your life, just know that change is happening. So what about how do we view change? Because some of us resist change. Some of us, will come around after a little while. We need to be convinced of it. We need to be persuaded. Some of us are like, woohoo, me. I'm like, it's sure. Change is adventure to me, right? So what would it look like if we viewed change as an opportunity for growth rather than a threat to us? So take a second. Let's think about a moment when we were facing a significant change. I was just actually walking through this. I was playing with an AI app and I was looking for I actually asked the thing, list off different season transitions and life stage transitions, because I wanted to spark my mind into creativity. And I went, when she gave out that list, I think there was like 9 of them, 7 of them I've done, X out last year, but the 4 years previous to that. I mean, major changes, absolute transition, complete rewiring of my life. If I was looking at that and I was constantly pushing against that, I think I would have been absolutely miserable the entire time. But I look back on that now and I look how much I've grown and how much I've developed and how much opportunity came in the midst of that. The majority of you sitting here are in the midst of a transition, different transition. I was actually contacted a couple of you. I'm like, guess what? This is transition. That's why we're uncomfortable. That's why it's hard, right? So what are some key mindsets for navigating change? Well, one is a growth mindset. Change is an opportunity for growth. When we see challenges as opportunities to learn and grow, that's a whole different thing. We can focus on what we can control and stay positive about the outcomes. Controlling your mind is controlling our emotions. We are not victim to our emotions. You know, I talk about this, that emotions are simply indicators that our soul needs attention. Like, for instance, when I'm sick and I have the flu, I might be throwing up, I might have a fever, I might have a stuffy nose and watery eyes and all that. And that's an indicator that my body needs some love and attention and care, right? In the same way, our emotions are indicators. They're not drivers. They're not the things telling you what to do. They're just saying, hey, me over here, I need some attention. I need some care. We got to focus on what we can control and stay positive in the middle of those outcomes. I talk about it like not being unattached to the outcome. So maybe we could get, and I'm trying to be quick, I'm up leveling my integrity, by the way, by actually timing myself this week so I don't go too far over. So there's certainty and uncertainty. During times of change, it's really important that we find that certainty within ourselves, not within our environment. That's what's going to create that unshakable life. Our environment is going to be full of turmoil, upheaval. There'll be wars and rumors of wars and gossip and challenges to our reputation and all these things going on. I can find certainty within myself and within the Lord. Not in my circumstances do not need to shake me. We can trust in your abilities, and you can even think back to your previous successes. And what about resourcefulness? Again, I've been talking about, what do you really want? Why do you want that? And then creating a plan to actually get you there. If we really want something, we'll be resourceful to get it. I've seen people do amazing things when they're needing to really get that thing that they're looking for. So the question is, do you really want it? If not, why are we going towards it? Adaptability, being able to pivot, is such a key. Just think of a time when you lacked resources but succeeded through innovation and resourcefulness. So let's look at some practical tools to help us change. First, visualization. I've been talking about this with a lot of people, is that Tony Robbins has this thing called priming. I actually saw this in an episode of The Flash, okay? Superheroes, Marvel stuff, right? Episode of The Flash has taught me a lot about the spirit realm. No joke. I could tell you so many stories. But in this episode, we've got the Flash and he's trying to run and get out of the place that he's in. And when he runs his hardest, he all of a sudden boinks off and he gets all the way back where he started, and he tries again and he boinks back off and ends up all the way where he started. And what solved that problem for him is he visualized himself as already there. And wouldn't you know it, once he visualized himself as already there, bam, he got right through that barrier into where he was going. Second, affirmations. Nah, that sounds wussy, doesn't it? What about declarations? Here's what I've learned. You have to train your neural pathways to think properly. And you have to do, a lot of us are like, oh, I got my declarations on the bathroom, and I'm going to say the thing on the bathroom sink and then I'm good to go because I've said it. No, we got to get it in your spirit, in your body, in your very soul, is to actually say it with energy, actually say it with life. Thanks that I woke up today. That was awesome. Appreciate it. I thank you that I embrace change as an invitation for adventure. Come on. I've been triggered today. Hallelujah. That's an opportunity to heal. Do you see the energy and the vibrance in that? Or, I got triggered again today. And so-and-so is to blame. That has energy too. But is that the energy you really want? Probably not. Change the narrative. Change the narrative. Change what you're saying to yourself. Remember, you are responsible for the way you're going to show up in a circumstance. And one thing that's been huge for me is practicing gratitude. I know it sounds like a pat answer, like just, declare it away or, all those things. I remembered stuff from when I was in second grade, my first time riding my bike. I mean, like amazing stuff for the last 3 months that have now come into my memory that I couldn't even remember because I had in the past been so focused on my failures. So listen. Key mindset is just embracing a growth mindset, master your emotions, find certainty within yourself. This is all part of living the unshakable life. So listen, we want to break you up into breakup, or we don't want to break you up. We want to put you into breakout rooms, break you up. No breaking up. This is a place where you get to share from your heart. And this is a place where the masks come off. I think where I started was, hey, no masks, showing up authentically and transparently. And here's the thing. A lot of people ask, how do I show up authentic and transparently when all this stuff is going on in my heart? And I'm like, well, if you don't like what's coming out of you, what if we stewarded that differently so that it's not in you in the first place? That's what 100% ownership looks like. That's what an unshakable life looks like. So sometimes we need to name our emotions and work on them and feel them, but then we release them and then we choose a different path. So we're going to send you into breakout groups. Here's a couple of things to discuss. What highlighted to you from this training? How do you embrace change? Some of us, we are late adapters. We're like, okay, well, I'll think about it for the next 3 weeks and then I'll embrace that change. Some of us are initial resistors, right? We're like, heck no. Some of us think it's an adventure. How do you manage your change? And thinking about the fact that change is inevitable, how are you going to embrace that change in the future?